How to access the Emergency Response Data Platform. Any public safety agency can access life-saving emergency data through the RapidSOS Emergency Response Data Platform. There are two ways of doing so. RapidSOS Portal is a powerful web-based tool that enables you to manage emergencies and access location and supplemental data for every call in your jurisdiction. Signing up for RapidSOS Portal is easy and only takes a few minutes. In addition to emergency management tools and data, RapidSOS Portal includes a training platform as well as administrative tools to manage user permissions, track usage, and analyze trends in your agency. To learn more and sign up for RapidSOS Portal, please visit rapidsosportal.com. RapidSOS also integrates with every major CAD, CPE, mapping, or other public safety softwares. With an integration, you can receive RapidSOS data through your existing workflow, and you won't need any additional screens, tabs, or windows. To learn more about integrations, visit rapidsos.com/public-safety-partners.
Hey, heroes. Tracy Eldridge here. It is the last official session of the On-Scene First NENA ENP study group for the fall 2022 session. I just want to go over a couple of things. Apparently those were out of order. But today is September 30th. You'll be receiving this recording on the last scheduled day. I did decide to cancel the session because the only section I had to do was the NENA standards, and it's a very small section. So I didn't want to tie up your Friday afternoon to jump on a live presentation. So you will get that today. Before I go into this stuff, I am right here is the practice exam that I am hoping to wrap up and get to you at some point this weekend. I apologize that I didn't get a chance to update it as much as I wanted to. I've been super time constrained with some previously booked travel and then my mom's medical conditions that have been going on. So it's been taking a lot of time away from what my intentions were, but I know everybody understands. So I'm not worried about it. I'm just doing my best to get that to you as soon as possible. But if you're jumping on and you're finding this video and you're wondering how to get into the next live session. So first, today is the last session of the fall study group for 2022. If you're watching this session after September 30th, 2022, but you're scheduled to take the exam in February, or you're wanting to take it in February and you want access to the YouTube videos, the audio recordings, the PDFs, and any links that I discussed in any of the presentations, you just need to email me at teldridge@onscenefirst.com, and I will add you to the previous study group's Google group. And then you can access all of the recap emails there that will bring you to all of the materials that you would need to take the exam. It's all self-paced. The next live study group is going to be January 6th to March 30th. So if you did not get a chance to take the exam in October and you're looking to take it in the spring or summer of 2023, this is the study group that you would want to join. And the link for the old registration has now been updated for the new study group. So you can find that at onscenefirst.com /training/study ENP, and you can register for the next live study group that does not start until January 6th. And then feel free to pop on over to my website, onscenefirst.com, and scroll down to the bottom of the page and register to be notified of any free trainings and webinars and fun stuff that I might be doing. That's how you can get the best notification, because I put things out there. So there's that. I also need to say a huge thank you to my premier study group sponsor, RapidSOS, for committing to financially assist me to be able to do what I do for you here, but also allow me to give out 4 scholarships over 2022, 2 in the spring, 2 in the fall, which was really cool. There's a lot of folks that needed that scholarship, and we really appreciate what they have done. If you haven't heard what Rapid SOS is doing, please pop on over to rapidsos.com and tell them Tracy sent you. I would also like to say a huge thank you to NGA, Next Generation Advance. They are the premier sponsor of my podcast and media solutions. So part of their sponsorship allows me to also be able to do what I'm doing here. And they are the providers of end-to-end NG911 solutions. So if you're looking for a next gen solution, pop on over, hear what they have to say, and tell them thank you. We're going to go over the NENA standards. There is not a ton of heavy lifting stuff here, but before we get started, for those of you that are going to be taking the exam in the next couple of weeks, first, good luck, and hopefully it's a congratulations. Second, what I would really love for you to do is, I know that once the test is done, you're done and you don't even want to look at the material again, but I think you know that I try to make sure that I'm covering all of the valid material. Now, with that said, I don't want specific questions. You don't need to memorize what the questions were. That's not cool. But what I would like you to do is, if there were places that you felt like you were struggling or that I could go more in depth in, please send me an email after your exam with any type of constructive criticism or feedback from the study group. So there's that. And yeah, I think that's it. So let's get started. So recently I had the opportunity to be a co-chair for a NENA standard working group. It used to be the acute stress standard of 2013 that was in a dramatic need of updating. Because even just back then in 2013, sleep issues and obesity issues were not listed under the stress response category. So I was honored to work on that standard with Jim Marshall of the 911 Training Institute and a slew of other amazing professionals. And it was my first opportunity to work on a NENA working group. Now, with that said, yes, there was a learning curve. Yes, there were things that we had to go through, but it was a super rewarding experience. And if you have the opportunity to work on one, I highly recommend you do so. And on the last page of this section, I will have the website where you can find the NENA standards and see what's open and who's looking for help in their standard working groups. So there are NENA standards and other documents. So number 1, NENA is the premier public safety organization for defining 911 operation and technical issues, standardizing technical solutions, and developing operational model recommendations and guidelines. Okay. Actually, I didn't even notice that that was on there, but you can check out which standards are in place by going to the nena.org/page/standards and see what standards are listed there. A lot of folks don't even realize that there are standards that exist. And there are places where APCO and NENA work together to create a 911 industry standard that becomes an ANSI standard, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. So NENA committees that develop standards, recommendations, and other documents are organized into the following functional areas. If you were to click on one of the committees, which is right on the standards page, you can learn more about the individual committees that are working on these individual topics. So we look into the categories of accessibility, agency systems, database management, data structures, 911 core services. So some of the I3 stuff that we just recently talked about, that's where you can find that stuff. System security and resilience, PSAP operations, scheduling, things like that, PSAP logistics, communications as a whole, development group administrative stuff, and wellness. So I also sit on the wellness committee for NENA, and we work in many different areas, which we also regulate and keep the NENA Wellness Continuum page up to date. So if you're not familiar with the NENA Wellness Continuum, go ahead and Google it and check it out. But to get to these specific groups, that website is right there on the bottom of the page, and I will put it in the link for the recap.
How to access the Emergency Response Data Platform. Any public safety agency can access life-saving emergency data through the RapidSOS Emergency Response Data Platform. There are two ways of doing so. RapidSOS Portal is a powerful web-based tool that enables you to manage emergencies and access location and supplemental data for every call in your jurisdiction. Signing up for RapidSOS Portal is easy and only takes a few minutes. In addition to emergency management tools and data, RapidSOS Portal includes a training platform as well as administrative tools to manage user permissions, track usage, and analyze trends in your agency. To learn more and sign up for RapidSOS Portal, please visit rapidsosportal.com. RapidSOS also integrates with every major CAD, CPE, mapping, or other public safety softwares. With an integration, you can receive RapidSOS data through your existing workflow, and you won't need any additional screens, tabs, or windows. To learn more about integrations, visit rapidsos.com/public-safety-partners.
So what is a NENA registry system? So when NENA is developing or deploying technical standards that have things that can change over time, they have to have a place for these, a database or a registry system to exist. It is also a known table to maintain the current acceptable values in the enumeration or list as required. And the values in the enumeration or list are called a registry. So the NENA registry keeps track of any type of data and technical standards that have lists of values, enumerations, and things like that. And they can all be found in one place. And that's what the NENA registry is. Here are some NENA administrative documents. So something that is very important to the creation of standards is making sure that terms that are used consistently throughout the NENA document are identified in the NENA administrative document. So you have the master glossary there, and you also have the organizational structure and operational procedures. So these are paramount when standards are being built. There are archive documents. So when a new standard, so the 2013 acute stress standard is now an archive document. Can't talk today. It's now an archive document because the new wellness standard, the standard to protect the well-being of the 911 professional, is the new name for the standard. That is the current standard today. So we don't want folks confusing the two. So the 2013 acute stress standard has been moved to being archived, which is where they maintain documents for research and historical purposes. And then the user is cautioned to note that the date of the documents and recognize that more current information might be available. So you could go to the archive section, but you'll notice that any archive document will actually have archive right across it. There are also NENA informational documents. They're used as a means of distributing information on a particular subject to the public safety industry at large. It's an informational document, and it doesn't have to go through the steps that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. There's just shorter steps and things that they have to go through. But a document is not going to be ANSI certified because there's so many more steps that have to go. The document has to go through to become ANSI certified. NENA Requirements document developed by a NENA committee. It is used as a basis for NENA committee or outside standards development organization, an SDO, to develop formal industry accepted standards and guidelines. So it's just basically to be a standard, you have to kind of follow standard creation rules. So that's what a NENA requirements document is, pretty self-explanatory. And then the NENA standard itself is the minimum characteristics of a system that, when implemented, assures reliable and effective system performance in accordance with the limited requirements. It includes, but is not limited to, requirements or specifications. So in the wellness, and I'm just using it as an example because I'm very familiar with it, what we did in the wellness standard is we allowed for addendum pieces or appendices where folks were able to click and move to informational documents. So not everything's part of the standard, but we were able to attach other documents to that. But for the most part, the standard is it includes at minimum requirements and specifications, and on occasion best practices. NENA reference is a publication that may contain any of the following examples that do not fit into a typical standard format, information or requirements document. So public education, PSAP training, any white papers, checklists, website materials, those are just NENA references. So how does a document become a standard? NENA documents go through an established, detailed review and approval process. The process is modeled after the American National Standards Institute process, ANSI process. So you've probably heard of ANSI before. A lot of folks misunderstand ANSI as being the folks that check and make sure that all the information is valid, but it's not actually that. ANSI is just making sure that all of the proper procedures were followed so that an industry doesn't just come up with a standard and, you know, we have 5 people on a group and 3 of them know nothing about communications, but they were on a standards committee. ANSI makes sure that the appropriate players are on that particular standard group for the purpose at hand. So ANSI, as mentioned, is the American National Standards Institute. The institute evaluates and assures proper process was taken, not the contents of the standard. They don't even have to read the contents of the standard. They just have to make sure that all the proper processes were put in place. NENA is an ANSI accredited standards development. So they are an ASD, which makes them a SDO, which is a standards development organization, because they follow the proper policies and procedures and rules to become an ANSI standard. They are able to create the actual standards. So these are the ANSI requirements. So first of all, it has to be open to all. There can't be any barriers. So if we were to say, open up a committee or a working group that was going to update the standard on how a TTY or TDD piece of equipment is used in the 911 center, then folks from the deaf and hard of hearing community could also join this group. So there's no barriers. Everybody is able to be a part of it. Lack of dominance cannot be dominated by a single company. So I'll just use Rapid SOS. When I was with Rapid SOS, there were several groups, working groups that were coming up for additional data and device-based location, et cetera. Rapid SOS can't be the only company that is on those particular working groups. There have to be other companies that have an interest at stake as well. And if they don't have them, they tend to seek them out because you don't want there to be a misconception of dominance by any one company in a standard creation. Balance must have a balance of interest. So we have folks that are called directors and agents, and there's a few different categories, but basically you have to have different levels of interest. So you have the director level, you have the vendor commercial side, you have the frontline telecommunicators. Coordination and harmonization, attempts to avoid and resolve conflict. What I can tell you is that our group went very well. We had a lot of folks that were very passion driven when it came to mental health and wellness, and folks stepped up. It took us a little longer than expected because we were hit with COVID and things went sideways for a little bit. But nonetheless, we got the job done and everybody worked very well together. We put people in their seats on the bus where they could shine in the light of their true potential, and we got it done. But not all working groups are like that. Sometimes there are folks with very strong opinions and personalities on how things should be done, but nonetheless, there has to be a good coordination and harmonization there. Notification of standards development. Okay, we have to share in the most appropriate places. So NENA has the forums, we have Facebook pages that this is going to go into effect. Consideration of views and objectives. There has to be adequate time allowed for folks to review. And so we had every time we would move to the next phase in the process, it would go out to different groups to be approved and looked at. And we'll go through that little map in just a second. Consensus vote. So generally all have to be in agreement, a general agreement of all. We all have to agree. And if we can't all agree, we all have to check off. Everybody that's assigned to the working group has to check off and say, yes, I agree that this is my work. And I agree that this is what we put forth. If there's anything that is not making sense or needs to be clarified, there's also an appeals process, and they must have an identifiable and agreeable appeals process to say, oh, okay, this doesn't make sense. Well, then we should change this to this and get a general consensus on that. And then written procedures. Written procedures shall govern the standards process. Okay, so all those things have to be in place. They're a little more detailed when you get into the standard making, but this is how a standard becomes a standard. A document becomes a standard. The NENA standards development process includes the following steps. First, they have an internal member review and comment period. Okay. Then a public comment review period. Now, again, this review period comes after the working group has created the document that is being submitted to become a standard. So first, internal members. So that would be all of the NENA members. Working group members, and the folks that are working under the SDC and on committees inside of the NENA working group. Then there's public comment and review period. The respective committees then take action on a proposed comment. So it goes out to the internal members and then goes out to the public, and then it comes back with any information that folks think need to be changed, any type of grammatical situations that may have been identified, if things aren't making sense or they're not working properly or worded properly or links are not working, etc. Then it would go back to, in the wellness committee, it would go back to Jim and I, and then we would work towards rectifying whatever the issues were. Then the process review committee confirms the proper processes were followed. So that would be the folks at NENA, like Delane. She's amazing at what she does. And once the approval by the process committee happens, it's sent to the executive board. So the NENA president, past president, first vice president, etc. If approved by the NENA executive board and the standard is all set, it is then sent to ANSI to be accredited, and it's set to be an ANSI accredited standard, and it's sent to ANSI for approval. So this little visual here just basically states exactly what I just said. So we have the working group, we have a draft standard, it then goes out to the members, goes out to the public, goes back to the working group leadership, goes to the process review committee, then to the executive board, then to the ANSI folks to determine that proper process was done, and then it becomes a standard. So that's it. That is really all you need to know for the NENA standard stuff, to the best of my ability. But I just want to say thank you so much for joining me in this endeavor. Again, if you are planning on taking the test in October, good luck. If you want to take it in February, then these study materials are the ones that you're going to want. So if you need access to the written materials, please email me at the email you see there, teldridge@onsinefirst.com, and check out my other social media. I have some cool training stuff that's coming on the horizon. So make sure that you jump on my website and register for the newsletter to keep up with my shenanigans. Don't forget to check out the podcast. And in the lower right-hand corner is the On Scene First Safety Net Facebook group. It is a private Facebook group. If you want to join us, please just list the agency that you work with. All first responders and lifesavers are included in there. We just have to get better at taking care of ourselves. So until next time, heroes, take care of yourselves, stay safe, stay strong, and stay here. We need you.